This House supports two-party political systems over multi-party political systems. You should all know you've got 7 minutes to speak. First and last minute are going to be protected. Does any of the wings volunteer to keep time? Okay. Keep in mind, if you people are very interesting, we might forget to bang, so use your timers and common sense to know what you're allowed to do. And if we're all ready, please welcome the Prime Minister to present the case that stands in his name.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, in today's motion, we stand behind two political party system over multi-party political system. In this debate, we will explain you how this type of a model in democratic countries is better in a manner that it shows and gives us support to better policy improvements of the values of the society. Additionally, I will speak about how this system is better in imposing the check and balances that are needed for a democracy to be developed. I additionally will explain how this political system gives better support and gives opportunity for citizen movements to impose their ideas and be part of the huge debate that is going on in this situation. Obviously, we are talking about democratic system countries where they have elections, where they have freedom of choosing who's leading the country. So that's the setting that we are offering to the table. So why? But firstly, let's define what is the role of the political system. What is the role of the political parties? We know that their idea is to get leading the country, but when it comes to people, when it comes to real lives, it is a thing that they are put in a place to make our opportunities better, to satisfy our needs, to give us opportunities to do what we think that is best for us and for the others. So, how actually this system gives us better values and better political improvement? We think that in two-party political system, there is a huge discussion guaranteed within the parties before the elections come, before the citizens that are not part of that needs to vote are actually guaranteed. We have seen in the model of the United States of America where Democrats and Republicans having many candidates within their parties, having huge discussions before in front of the delegates and in front of the general public, discussing their ideas of the conservative values that they have or liberal values that they have. So we see a discussion, what is the best solution coming from one party that has a certain idea. And we have seen historically that they are developing through time in a really natural manner where they're getting what the people really want instead of imposing something that it might occur in multi-party system because of having coalitions. And we think that this is a really important thing because of how actually when it comes to getting the position of ruling a country, how this is actually improving. Because having the majority of 50% guarantees that some of your ideas will be passed. We know and have seen situations where Democrats do not support Barack Obama's idea because they think that is kind of wrong. And in a multi-party system, we usually see that what the head of the political party says should be voted. It is being voted because that is a thing. That is the most important thing. How your political party, your position in the party will be maintained. On the other hand, we see here that people are individually recognized when they do support others' idea. We see the political parties supporting each other's policy in order to maintain their position in the government. And additionally, we think that they must address and they must discuss the things that the opposition is trying to put in the parliament, because they're the only one that they have to give an answer. The voters are expecting, the media is reporting if the government side is not doing well. On the other hand, we have in multi-party system parties abstaining from questions and not engaging in the discussion, and we think that is wrong because those are the people elected to bring a discussion and make a policy out of it. And that is a really important thing to be addressed. And we think that this really benefits many sides. Firstly, the minorities. Whenever a minority has a problem, we see that a political party sees an opportunity to discuss their solution, to put them in front of the parliament in order because they do need their votes. And in this situation, as I explained in my analysis, those questions must be addressed. Having the LGBT community complaining about situations, it is expected that the United States Democrats will stand against them. And it will be a need for the conservative side, for the Republicans to answer that, because everyone keeps them guilty. It's the same thing that we see in this situation. The empowerment of the black people in the United States have been passed because the Democrats thought that it's time to have the first black president in the United States, and that was really beneficial. Another different politics that Obama stand behind were changed just because of this system and the majority that he got on having empowering middle class, improving the health care because the position he has. Additionally, we think that all NGOs, no matter it is a minority issue, it is something like the green parties that we have in multicultural system. They don't usually get their policy addressed in the parliament and passed as ideas. But in these situations, we think that one side must address, because there are a lot of people thinking that going with one side or another will solve this situation. And this is how the parties are more open to discuss something that is not on their agenda in first place. And going on the second point, how we see the check and balance, we find these political parties having a path of development. We see that they're not making huge changes like, let's say, the Greek Greek has. They have a cool multicultural party system, but still, when a small party has been empowered just because of one question, we are not sure that they are bringing the change needed. And we think that a populist party can easily get passed in the public discourse just because of the current situation, and having huge parties discussing these questions that are matter of a small group like it's the Black Dawn in Greece will be rechecked, will for sure not have the opportunity to pass their radical ideas. What I've tell you today, that people have to be satisfied, that people need governments that stand behind their values, and the two political party system are guaranteed discussion, and additionally they're checking whether everything is going on okay with the ideas that people have. For all these reasons, we are proud to propose.
I thank the gentleman for a fine speech and invite the leader of opposition to present the case for the other side. Here.
Before I start, hi Monica. I know. Okay. Sorry. Okay. To start, we believe that to sum up the opening speech, they have a twofold burden of proof to our belief. First, they would have to prove us that the two-party political system is enough to represent the views of the voters, because they do agree that this is a very important thing in a society, all the views of the voters will be represented. That's the first burden. Second, that the two-party system is actually more efficient or similarly efficient to multi-party systems. And I'm going to prove why those two are wrong. Two-party systems are not enough to represent the whole diversity in a society. Well, there are only two. Well, party platforms actually do strongly limit the freedom of thought inside parties. And those are not only the party platforms that the candidates have to by some way abide. Those are the campaign funds, those are the advertisement, those are the caucuses. They actually, through inside discussion, because I would like to remind you that on his huge debate point, the leader of the Prime Minister actually said that those discussions will be inside the party, which is very threatening to us. The goal of democracy is to represent the views, and parties may be diverse inside, but still the outcome will be very limited because of their main party platform. So the political debate will be, therefore, very much thwarted and stalled. and a multi-party system guarantees that the little parties will be better suited to the needs of the people. Second, why political chaos may actually be sometimes better. Two-party systems are like we view them as stable, as you know, a bit slow, and we really don't like this. Counterintuitively, long-standing monopolies, just as in economy, have very many drawbacks. First, the two parties will have incredible sense of security. Because, for example, as I'm very happy that the case of USA was used, because those parties do not have to worry about anything. They know that the swing will come back to their side in a couple of years. And no huge debate is needed to spur it. Just let the other party screw up, which is a very bad thing for the country. Second, it thwarts, monopolies thwart innovation. Political innovation sounds weird, but it actually is about young people, for example, when they're growing up and they see only two parties, and they see that the societal consensus is like agreed on those 2 points. And we believe that when there are multi-party systems, they would be able to see many more views. So let's, for a thought experiment, like try to, even if the political views of the society at large were perfectly aligned with the two parties, let's assume that for a while, it would still be better if multi-parties would arise. Why? The parties, as in the United States, do not actually fight each other. They do like the consensus, they do like the status quo, they do like the fact that there's only two parties, because this gives them security. And we believe that they should have as many little thorns on the side, as many little spurs of political innovation as possible. The diversity of parties guarantees that the most. The entire United States efficiency is actually stalled, is actually limited by the fact that the two-party system that's out there actually masquerades itself as a serious political deep debate. They're actually discussing minute things. And beautifully, I'm very happy you use like the healthcare and LGBT points. Ladies and gentlemen, just look at history. Slavery, late. Black empowerment, late. LGBT, late, not enough. Healthcare, late, not enough. This is the reason for that is that the two-party system in the United States was afraid to take on those big questions because they didn't have enough spur to do just this. So, a stalled political innovation, maybe before this point, you have some points? Yeah?
Yes, so the United States is the atypical two-party system insofar as the presidential system forces the two parties to work together to pass anything. Wouldn't it be more fruitful to look at the wider instances of two-party system, like the United Kingdom, like New Zealand?
Well, United Kingdom is not as typical of a two-party system. That's the first thing. But I do not view the presence of a strong president as a somehow limiting factor to the thing I was just speaking about. After all, the president is always coming from one of those two parties. He actually represents them. He is them. He is the head of those parties. So, stalled political innovation will be very bad for the future of the society. Because, as we probably know, like from economies, monopolies do like to protect themselves, and political monopolies love to protect themselves because they actually live off the people. So, when I'm young and I'm growing up, I need more views in my head in the political sphere to be openly and happily discussed and being represented by political people who I can vote on. And you seem to disagree.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to two political parties, it's usually a small gap, and there are a lot of neutral voters, people that abstain, but we think that this solution can be solved if political parties are improved.
So even if your assertion will be true that they, because this is another iteration of the alignment point, that actually those two parties you try to convince us that are actually aligned somehow with exactly the view of the voters or the neutrals. We do believe that in a multi-party system, actually the neutrals would have their neutral party, and the right-wingers would have their right-wing party. But two-party system limits this possibility strongly. So to sum up. We believe that the two important burdens on their side has not been yet upheld. They have not shown us the promised checks and balances point. They have not showed us how they're efficient. The case they use of United States is an incredibly inefficient country when it comes to ruling. The gridlock in Washington is basically legendary, a stuff of legend, and it actually hinders America's growth and hinders the possibilities of Americans. The two-party system limits freedom of thought, of freedom of expression, because young people growing up and everyone do not have the opportunity to vote for a minor but established parties that would represent their views better. And as I told you, the alignment on representation of your views in the political party system is very important to you, because only then you can feel as a real part of the society that you're a part of. So, for those reasons, I try to convince you that they're wrong.
I thank the gentleman for his speech, and we move back to the government side. Please welcome the Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, in my speech, I'm going to talk about why this is good for the voters and why it's good for the party itself and for the government itself. But first, a little points of rebuttal. Firstly, what we heard from the side opposition here is that basically what the two-party system wants is sense of security, that in every 4 years you will get the ruling position. But that's the problem, because we believe in neutral voters. Basically, neutral voters are the ones who are undecided, and basically they are the ones who are not a constant member of one party, and they're actually reviewing the program of each party, and they're giving the vote of the ideas that actually are more preferable to them. And it's not like if you see the history of America, you can see that in different centuries, one party is dominating the elections because of certain context. For example, George Bush was dominating because of the context of being attacked by terrorists, and basically the neutral voters gave their vote towards conservative ideas, I don't know, invasions and liberal Protection Act and all that stuff. No, thank you. So, first of all, the voters. Basically, you need to realize that voters only have one vote. So that means, for example, if I'm a liberal, that's my essential point of view towards the vote, but maybe I have several different opinions on several different issues. For example, I'm pro-LGBT, I'm pro-liberal market, and pro-different liberal stuff. So basically, if I have a different party on a different kind of issue, I can only give one vote. So basically, what we're saying here, united ideas gives me a stronger position inside the parliament, so basically my idea can pass through more easily, and this is something that is good. Second of all, it gives solidarity among citizens from different classes. If I'm a rich liberal, if I'm a poor liberal, if I'm a middle class liberal, we all together can unite on different issues that can actually help us to pass our ideas in the parliament, which is something that is good. For example, rich liberals, for example, have ideas of a liberal market, but at the end, the liberals from the poorer areas are example for legalization of marijuana. Both of us can cooperate and pass through liberal ideas, because different issues are maybe different, have different points in the society, but in the essence they have the same principles, and that's why we think that it's good to unite among a principle. Basically, as I said, they're the neutral voters that actually who are deciders of the turnouts of the elections. The neutral voters can see what kind of policy can be passed through. Well, the second thing, party check and balances, and why this is good for the country. First of all, just see the Tea Party movement in United States. Basically, that if you think about it, that's some sort of a wing in the Republican Party. But they're so radical. They're against, I don't know, migrants. They have constraints towards the economy and all this stuff. And if these guys actually win the elections, it will be very harsh for United States. But that's why we have an inner check and balance within the party. That's why why we have a whole spectrum of ideas, conservative ideas within the Republican Party, and and older conservatives inside the country are actually choosing which idea will be best presented among the general public. And this is something good, because just look at now democratic Egypt right now. We have different kinds of groups, everybody is represented by their own party, and everybody is now fighting each other because we have not united these countries, these ideas within a party, and we think that this is something that is very, very wrong. So basically, another thing is that we are gaining moderate politics, more moderate policies in the system, which is something good. Because if you have an extreme party, it means that extremists can be very, very harsh on the, for example, left extremists can be very, very harsh on right extremists, and we think that this is something that is not good. Moderate policies for a large country such as United States is something good because it keeps the balance in society. And second of all, it also gives an opportunity for the other party to adopt idea which is generally accepted from the general public. For example, if the healthcare system, healthcare law of Barack Obama passes, it will also give incentive for the Republicans to adopt this law, because it will show because they will see that the general public actually likes this kind of law. It means that because the parties are in constant search of voters. So basically, if the neutral voters actually like the Obamacare law, it will be an incentive for the both parties to accept that kind of law, and we think that this is something that is actually good. So basically, what we are saying here, we are saying that within the party we have spectrum of ideas, and this spectrum of ideas, and they are in a constant debate, and they are in constant reality check. And this is something that is good. We think it's more safer to have a reality check of the ideas within the party than in the parliament itself, because some of the ideas cannot be very, very tested, and these ideas can be brought up in the public, and they can have the harsh thing on the within the in the public sphere itself. So basically, we have two more reasons why we think that this is very good. First of all, about the voters. It unites the ideas of the voters. More liberals together means that your idea is more stronger in the parliament, and basically solidarity within the citizens is something which is very good for the country. Also, it actually gives the different kind of communities within the party bigger vote in the parliament. For example, if I'm an LGBT party within the liberal LGBT community within the liberal party, and for example only 10% of the population is LGBT, it means that I can never come in power. But thanks to my bigger party, my ideas are now within the ruling system. Second of all, why it's good for the country itself? It's good because we always have moderate ideas within the system, and the good ideas will always will be taken thanks to the both parties, and also we will have a real balance within the system. Extreme groups makes your society extremer, and we think that this is something that is very wrong. So for all this reason, thank you very much.
Before we move back to the opposition side, I'd like all speakers to consider the fact that if you're going to be speaking too loudly to each other, we won't be able to hear what the person is saying up front, and I don't want to be shushing you for the next hour, so keep that in mind. And welcome the Deputy Leader of Opposition.
All right. Hi, Mom. Let's start with a quick rebuttal. Well, sir, you said that you would rather test these ideas, you would rather discuss them within the party, not out in the public. Well, you are happy to transfer the political discussion from the floors of the parliament to private party cabinets, to the behind closed doors. We believe that here in the opposition, we believe that it is an insane thing, a thing that will be really harmful for the debate in the government, in the parliament, and for the debate in the whole society. Because we believe that in the situation where everyone can challenge your ideas, can question your ideas from different perspectives, is much better and will lead to a much better result. Next thing being reviewing programs. You said that you believe in this neutral voter who will review the programs after these 4 years. But hey, there are only 2 programs, and it is impossible to include everything that is important for you as a voter. Thank you. In these 2 programs, and they do not change really that really, because another thing that you mentioned, this new idea as well in the two-party political system, new ideas are having a really hard time passing in these old structures. These parties are old. The guys at the top are usually old as well in the means of being experienced in these structures, and they are not willing to have these new ideas passed that way. The compromise, also mentioned, the compromise means that nothing really new can happen. The compromise, it can mean that only a very minor part of the idea will pass, or nothing at all, because you have all of these, all of these guys in the party representing different views, as you said, and they will not agree to everything. And the last thing being that it is not the only goal of the party to come to the power with these minority parties. Their goal is to be not limited by these structures, not limited by the compromise which is needed, and to expose their. And this is why we believe that in the multi-party political system, these minorities have a much better chance of protecting their interest. Have a much better chance, of bringing this new important contribution. Going to new points, all right, but first, question.
We explained you that having one party that has a majority power is a better way how you can actually advocate for smaller minorities.
Thank you. As I said earlier, we believe that this is not the case, because you have these old structures which are not willing to pass these new ideas because they want this compromise. We believe that in the multi-party political system, these minorities which have their own parties, they can be not, they are not limited. They can bring the most pure version of the idea. The most pure version of the idea, the real thing that they want to pass, and this is very important for us, and this is where we are opposing the motion. And next thing, being when you have this wider spread in political views, you are more likely to find a party which represents your views more precisely, and this means that more people, will have this incentive to vote, because they will find a party which will represent their interest in this pure version, and in more voters, of course, it is a great thing for the society, for the state, because they are more aware of the fact, and they can change ideas which are not really good for themselves. And next thing, bigger chance to change things drastically. Well, it may occur that the state will have to change drastically, and it sometimes is simply necessary for the people. And in this case, in the case of multi-party political system, it is much easier for the state to change, and it is much more difficult in these old structures in two-party political system. Even the case of Egypt, they are fighting right now, but it is somehow irrelevant, because it is a war scene right now over there. So with this changing things drastically, we would allow people to change them, not by the gun, not pointing guns at each other. Thank you. And going to the next thing, the fact that opposition can have a better impact on the major party idea, the party that is in power, the government, because opposition will approach government's ideas from many different perspectives, and this is really important. This is really important for the opposition. This is really important for the people themselves, because it will help them to expose more weaknesses. You know, more parties which are not limited by the top guys, which are not limited in terms of having your own opinion, will have more power to expose these weaknesses of these ideas more precisely. And next thing is a chance for new politicians to emerge on the political scene. The thing that my colleague said. They can bring not only fresh blood, this fresh energy, but an opportunity to change the game completely, to bring more ideas which will be, set from completely different perspective, because new problems, problems in the society are emerging as well, and it is a need in these states to have these new groups of people who will address these issues. And the last point being that more competition between parties means the higher quality of politics themselves in terms of answering the needs of the people, because all of them want to address specific problems and are not limited, and this is why I am so proud to oppose. Thank you.
I thank the gentleman for his speech, and I'll just open a window. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
I would actively endorse it.
Whenever you're ready.
Honourable Chair, the most important thing in this debate is how democratic our system of government is. A government is a coercive body with a monopoly of force that we cannot meaningfully opt out of, and the only way that that can become legitimate and not a moral abhorrence is if we are able to, in some sense, consent and check that power. That means we have to promote democracy as our first, foremost and only aim in this debate. We think that the way that you promote democracy is accountability. Accountability is your ability to punish a party that has done a bad thing in government. In government's the most important thing because they influence our politics, right? Choice is meaningless unless that choice implies a control over the government and the capacity to actually get rid of them, right? How does this work? In two different ways. Firstly, if there is a government you don't like, if the people can throw them out, that means they're not the government anymore. Two, it acts as a disciplining measure to make sure that governments who don't want to be thrown out because they like having political power avoid that, taking more democratic decisions and paying more attention to the citizens. Three ways in which we improve accountability on side growth. Firstly, we avoid coalitions. Coalitions are by and large unaccountable. Now, coalitions do sometimes happen in two-party systems where a minor party manages to break through. There's one currently in the UK. We think the broad comparative is between the two-party dominated systems of Britain, New Zealand, Canada, and also the presidential system, those are all parliamentary systems, the presidential system in the United States, versus the multi-party systems like the presidential French system, which has many different problems that I won't point out, but also the parliamentary systems like Germany and Israel. Right? Coalitions are unaccountable, right? 4 reasons. One party can decide who wins the election, right? Insofar as during the 1950s and 1960s, the German Liberal Party was able to dictate whether or not the Social Democratic Labour Party or the Conservative CDU was in government. They represented a mere 10 to 15% of the population. There is no way that mainstream voters could check that party and make sure they were behaving responsibly, meaning it gave a disproportionate amount of power to those voters. That is immoral. Two, it means that governments can obfuscate for unpopular decisions. So the current coalition government in Britain, obviously, an unusual thing, the Conservatives can blame the Liberal Democrats for bad things, and the Liberal Democrats can blame the Conservatives for bad things. That means it is unclear who you punish after the election for something like the rising tuition fees. As a student voter, something I feel very, very strongly about, right? Do I vote against the Liberal Democrats who blame the Tories, or do I vote against the Tories who blame the Liberal Democrats? Three, it makes it far easier for parties to abandon manifesto promises because it is systematised. The party will run on a set of policies they promise to adopt, and then have to abandon some of them as part of the coalition negotiation, right? This obviously means, firstly, I have less control over parties because I'm unable to say, you broke your promise, that means I'm going to throw you out of power. But also, two, it means you have less trust in politicians because it systematises lying about the policies that you're going to implement if you get into government. We think those are bad things. Right, second point, how do we make voter choices more meaningful? Two sub-points. One, information. The two-party system is very clear which party stands for what. Voters have a limited amount of cognitive capital they're willing to dedicate to elections. Thinking is very tough, as we know at the end of a tiring debating competition. There is a limited amount of it that you are willing to do. Ideologies and policies can be abstract and unclear because they don't relate to your life. It is not instantly obvious to me, as a student voter, whether or not a rise in interest rates is good for me or bad for me. What I can do at the end of a 5-year single-party government is see that I am substantially poorer off than I was at the beginning of that government, and I can go, all right, you lot get out, we'll give the other chance another go. Right? On the other hand, where you have to try and understand the impacts of ideologies and individual policies, it's far harder to identify which party is going to act in your interests, right? Also note the fact that poorer people who typically have to use more of their cognitive capital making simple decisions over living because they live on the breadline, which means that there's a lot more stress associated with making those decisions to a much higher stakes, have even less capacity to engage in complex political systems, increasing the rich-poor divide in citizen power. Voters form coalitions within those parties in order to represent their own sub-views, right? What this means is, instead of at the beginning of an election, you have the LGBT bloc and the Social Democratic bloc, maybe the Feminist bloc, or within the Labour Party, whereas you have social conservatives and free marketeers in the Conservative Party. What does this mean? It means that you know which coalition you're voting for before the election, as opposed to trying to work out which will happen. Something which requires following the news in a lot of detail, something debaters like doing, something voters find dull. It also means you have more information about the parties. I can see the way the Tory party governed in the 1980s, and I can go, I didn't like that. The fact that the parties are old is a really good thing because it means we have loads more information about how they tend to act. That is great. The fact that two-party systems tend to reserve long-standing parties is a good thing. It also simplifies the choice for the electorate. So as I said, there is a limited amount of attention that citizens are willing to pay to politics, right? The point is the fewer parties you have to learn about, the deeper you can go into each one and the more nuance and understanding you can get in terms of making that decision between those two parties, increasing the amount of relevant political engagement that people get, and the extent to which voters are able to check those parties and call them out for their BS, right? Note that both sides in this debate rather, have decisions occurring behind closed doors. These guys have it happening in coalition governments, we have it happening in party boardrooms. Note that on our side you can see which party made which decision, and therefore hold them accountable for that simplifying choice. 3. Inter-election accountability. So most decisions in a democratic system tend to be made between elections, right? So there'll be a new government that may adopt a new change of policy, and then a new event will occur, maybe a terrorist attack or an economic crash. Then they have to make a decision as to how to react to that problem, right? What happens in a two-party system is that a variety of societal factions will all join together to form a single party. Under their fragmented system, each societal faction will form its own party, right? What does that mean? You get multi-faction parties forming in these democracies. Those factions can call each other out and have a more meaningful internal debate. Why? Because the factions don't fear each other, because they all seem to be on the same side. They don't mind giving in to each other, right? It's not a bad thing in a Labour government if what's called the Blairite faction gives into the Brownite faction. It's much worse in a coalition government, right? If the Social Democratic Party gives into the Christian Democratic Union, because then you are a traitor to your side, and you get more meaningful debates, you can check each other better. Good arguments are more likely to win in a multi-faction party. You also, in a coalition, have an incentive not to call out to the other people within your party for fear of the coalition collapsing, whereas parties offer a solidity that people know they can have that meaningful debate without risking the falling of the government. As a result, governments become much more effective because there is a much more intense internal debate going on within that government, one which will inevitably make sure that the good ideas win and the bad ideas lose. We believe in accountability in closing government. We believe in accountability for parties being thrown out of governments. We believe in voters making meaningful choices so they can hold parties accountable. We believe in accountability for decisions made within governments. For those 3 reasons, on the chair, we are incredibly proud to stand on side proposition.
To open the case for the second opposition team, please welcome the member of opposition.
for the opposition. I'll have a few points of rebuttal on the side, then I'll move to my substantive, which are, first of all, actually multi-party political system brings necessary things to a society for it to work. Second, actually, most of political society, most of democratic societies are based on a parliament, and we believe that a two-party political system is a blockage yet for the government to work and to take decision. And third of all, we'll come back to the point of representation and how a multi-party political system are way better to represent people than what they propose on the proposition. So, first of all, a few points of rebuttal. We've heard from the that actually voters don't only have one vote, and that this one vote and that they stick to like several ideas and several positions on several subjects, like they are like LGBT, ecology and stuff like that. Well, we believe that actually multiple parties actually give the opportunity to voters to prioritize their need and to vote for the party that actually represent the thing that's the most important to them, and to give a vote and to give a voice and to give a support to the idea that it's about them, that it stands for the most. Then we've heard that actually under a multi-party political system, well, actually there could be an extreme party winning the election. Well, we believe that even we don't say that is good or bad. We just say that actually, if an extreme party win an election, it's for a reason. It's because people actually vote for this party and actually feel the need to feel connected to the ideas expressed by this party, and feel the need to be and they feel that like they stick the most to this party. And so we believe that actually this is a way more representative of citizens' ideas than a two-party political system. Then we've had the case, we brought the case that actually there's a debate of ideas within parties. Like within parties, they debate lots of propositions and lots of ideas and policies. Well, but we asked them, how do they represent actually the majority of their voters? How do they know which idea is the one that represents the most all the people that vote for them? No, sorry. Then we've heard from the previous speaker that actually we have to promote democracy. Sorry, we have to promote democracy, and that's the main thing today in this debate. But we completely agree with that, and we believe that actually promoting democracy goes by a representation of everyone, even the extreme party, and even the other parties, and the one that stand for different parties. We've heard that actually. No, sorry. Well, we've heard that first of all. Actually, they claim on their side that two-party political system would avoid a coalition that brings the compromise. Well, actually, we believe that under multi-party political system, those parties that represent different ideas actually would have to make compromise to stick to another party and to get a bigger amount of voters. But actually, as they do this compromise, it's each party that has to compromise, and it actually brings in the end ideas that comes from both parties, and the main ideas that come from both parties. And we believe that actually that's the best way to tackle the problem of the concern the society. I'll come to that in my point. Now, first, my first substantive. Sorry. Well, we believe that multiple parties actually bring necessary things for society to work. First of all, it tackles special issues like in France, like when under the 2002 election, when the extreme party like took 20% of voters on first round, that means something, and that means that actually a vast majority of the not a majority, but a vast portion of the society wanted to vote for them and wanted to stick to those ideas and wanted the issue brought by the extreme party to be brought on the public scene. Now, what's more, it can also express special concerns like ecological parties. If people vote for green parties, even if there's not much, even if there's not much people voting for them, well, actually it brings the ecological problem on the scene and make the big parties actually think about it and discuss about that. And I'll take opening if I can first if you
Yeah. Well, we explain you that having minorities in big political systems are actually, in order to give the support to the political party, their needs has to be satisfied. Don't you think that is a better model how we satisfy different ideas rather than making compromises?
Well, actually, we believe that actually, if we want parties to represent people, people have to have the choice of which idea they are going to vote for, and that. And people will have, well, with a lot of choice, people will have the opportunity to vote for what they stand for the most. Now, on my second point, actually, we believe that a two-party political system are pretty inefficient because there are two big parties that works with parliament, and we believe that actually those two parties have to make a big compromise to have all the parliament vote for the policy, and we believe that actually making those kind of compromise leads to inefficient measures, to measures that are way too moderate and that can't really treat the problems of society. For this reason, we are really proposed.
Thank you. And I'll conclude this case for the government side. Please welcome the government whip. Also, as far as POIs are concerned, while we wait, I have zero problem.
For the same reason him, I'm not comfortable being streamed on this because I'm a member of a small party in a two-party system.
So as far as points of information are concerned, I have zero problems with you taking one at the bank, the protected first and last minute, or for your own safety in your speeches. So.
You ready? Cool. Right, three key points in this debate why side opposition win. Firstly, why democracy is the most important thing in governance. Secondly, why accountability is key to ensuring good democracy. And thirdly, why we get more accountability under a two-party system than we do under a multi-party system. Firstly, why democracy is the most important thing. Governments are formed to be coercive because they control 100% of the force. They can control what they take from you, they can control what they give to you, and it's fundamentally immoral for this to occur without a check on government, without any checks on government. So people have to get as close to consenting to this as possible. We have to get people as close to consenting to this as possible. Therefore, we need to promote democracy. Things like stable government and political minority representations are important, but only insofar as they contribute to a more democratic system. They are not more important than democracy itself. Second point, why accountability is key to this. No, thank you. Right. Firstly, it means you can get rid of a disliked government. In a two-party system, where the overwhelming majority of the time you have one party in government, if that party does something you heartily dislike, you can contribute to removing that government at the next election by voting them out. I'll take them go.
If I'm a Republican voter, but I hate the Tea Party hijacking of it, but I agree with most of GOP practice, I must vote on the people I dislike as a part of Republican Party, which would not be the case if the Tea Party was a separate entity.
So, like, I'll deal with that later, but anyway, you'd still probably vote for the party you least dislike. And anyway, if the Tea Party have fundamentally hijacked the Republican Party, and like are the most popular, therefore that's why they've hijacked it, your vote is going to mean very little when the people you're voting for won't get an election. In fact, your democratic choice is better fulfilled under a two-party system, as the Tea Party now have the moderation under the two-party system of the people you want to vote for. Therefore, actually, in a multi-party system, you'd be far worse off than under a two-party system. Right. So basically, you can contribute to getting rid of a disliked government because it's clear what they've done. It's clear, and it's very easy to get rid of them. They can't hang around like the German Liberal Party in the 50s and 60s because they're simply due to coalitions. Secondly, it makes governments fear being thrown out. Governments know if they're lagging in the opinion polls and beginning to falter electorally, they know they'll be thrown out at the next election without compromise, because they know the system they operate in promotes them being thrown out if they're bad, whereas there is far less of fear with it, and therefore they actually have to take active steps to combat this. Whereas under a multi-party system where they exist into a coalition, their incentives are not to govern better, their incentives are to shift the blame onto their coalition partners as much as humanly possible. Thirdly, this also forces parties to incorporate new factions that rise up, especially if the new faction is relatively popular, forces them to incorporate them into current political structures, meaning less disruption that you get in a multi-party system. And it also forces parties to cater to broader electoral wishes, rather than the party that has 45% of the vote needing an extra 6 seats and therefore having to end the coalition with the National Front, letting the extremists in. It means they thought parties have to act within mainstream opinion, otherwise they'll never get elected. Right. Why this leads to more accountability? Firstly, coalitions are fundamentally undemocratic. Why? So, opt say that single parties are undemocratic because you cannot meaningfully express your choice. Several reasons why this is false. Firstly, they can't express a choice. They can't see who made that decision in the coalition. It's not clear the parties express a blame game. You have absolutely no meaningful information as to guess who made that decision. Was it the FGP? Was it the CDU? You don't know. Whereas under a single party, it's clear because it's only the Tories who can influence that decision. Second reason why coalitions are undemocratic. So, under a two-party system, the two parties are essentially broad coalitions of the left and right. They publish a manifesto at the start, and if they get elected, that manifesto is what will be implemented in government. Otherwise, as we've already talked about, if they don't implement it, they'll probably be thrown out for the next time. So they have big incentives to do that because that's what they're elected for. Whereas in multi-party systems where coalitions are formed after the election, there is no single document that you're making your choice on before to express your preferences. So people have a very plausible lie of going, no, it wasn't us, it was actually them that wanted to do that. And you have no way to check that, you have no information with which to do that. No, thank you. So that's why coalitions are undemocratic in that way. Therefore bad, because obviously less accountability, single party system win there. Secondly, second subpoint, why people have more information and simpler choices. So opt say they want to give more choice in a multi-party system by representing people's wishes by having a direct vote. Why is that not true? Because a choice is only meaningful when you are sure of the knowledge of that choice. Meaning that without the track record in government, without the long-standing institutions that a two-party system means, that what they say is merely words. It becomes an issue of trust rather than an issue of fact of what you're basing your decision on. And because you cannot be sure of the knowledge, you cannot see how the parties performed in the past. If I randomly stand up, we can see in a two-party system if the Conservatives are truly Eurosceptic because they'll act Eurosceptically in government. Whereas in a multi-party system, where they're forced into coalition with the centrists every time, they can claim in a multi-party system that they are still Eurosceptic, but are only forced to being non-Eurosceptic by the centrist parties. Whereas we know in a two-party system, they're not actually Eurosceptic, they're just trying to do it to buy votes, and they are punished at the next election according for it, something that doesn't happen under the multi-party system or side up. Finally, intra-party factions. Right, So as I've already talked about, the coalitions are formed before the election in the two-party system, essentially. Inter-party factions can debate in a far more reasoned way, as they're not as concerned with getting their own way. They're far more concerned with their electoral concerns. So one, they don't like to be seen fighting publicly, and they're not nasty to each other because they have to work. We probably think reasoned and intelligent debate where you're not name-calling probably leads to better policy decisions and probably leads to better things like that from his.
Thank you. Just a moment. Okay, if we're ready, please welcome the opposition whip.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. So, let me be clear. In this debate, this is not about right or good ideas for the government, but it is about representation of people and real democracy. So, I'll talk about a bit like the previous speaker said, and then I'll talk about the parties, their value, improvement and monopoly, and second, the voters and the opposition in this debate. So on the fact that you can decide with to the next election to vote for the second party that you would probably can rid of the government. Most have elections in democratic countries after at least 2 rounds. So I think for most of people it's important to express themselves in the first round to vote for the party they like, they want to, and maybe block the party in the extreme party, or I don't know, in the second party. So yeah. So first point. We heard from Opening Gov that we would have a better discussion before to vote like in Republican Party, but we believe that there is it exists different opinion that they are not addressed by big parties. I'm gonna talk to you about ecology. I don't think that Republicans or Democrats are very interested in ecology, and I think it's important that when party can talk about it. We heard also from Opening Gov that the discussion wouldn't be it would be not engaging if we had multiple party. But we believe that, as Amal said to you, that we could have a block situation in the parliament if one party has the majority and the other one doesn't have the majority. So the majority will always win the parliament votes. You don't. Opening opposition said to you, and that we would not be representative for the people. And Amael said to you also that it would be more important to address every opinion in our country that just stay as we heard in the monopoly with 2 main parties. So I'll continue with the Opening Gov said to us that conservative ideas could be discussed in the Republican Party before the election, and right and left extremists are harsh to each other. We believe that democracy is, as Amal told you, it's important to let every opinion to be expressed, even extreme opinions, and we believe that this is not about right opinion. If extreme party achieve something and is actually at the government, it's because the people decided, and that's what we call democracy. I would like to add that the PM stated that in his first speech that democracy was the frame of this debate. I'll continue with I'll take you later. So I would like also to tell you that we believe that in society it's harmful to avoid discussions with the people. When you have two parties, the head of the parties, because they are big parties, they take decisions for the mass. And we believe that it's not good. Because I can say that in most elections for mayor, most of the people vote for someone they know, even probably without a party they don't vote for the party, they vote for the person, and I really think that it should be the same for a state election. First, opening opposition said to you that opposition has a better impact because they can expose by different perspective, and I think it's very important. And as we said, we have different parties, and this way you can talk about ecology in parliament, and it's very important. Thank you. The closing gov said to us that they would promote democracy, and that's the aim. But forest representation is also representation of every people, not only as USA was very useful in this debate, Republican and Democrats. And they would avoid coalition, and we believe, and Amal said to you, that two-party leads to compromise, and that's tackle problem in society. I'll take closing.
So, as a centre-left voter in a two-party system, I know that the Labour Party won't go into coalition with the Communists. I have no guarantee of that in a multi-party system. Why is representation of extreme communists more important than representation of the majority who make up the electorate?
I do believe that if you have a multi-party system, we could have more than a coalition is discussion between parties and not the big party deciding for everyone. So I really believe that coalition is not really a problem for our society, because you can express yourself in the first round of the debates. And so, concerning the voters, we have this problem of neutral voters. They would probably choose between two parties, but I think that the neutral voters have an opinion, at least what are their priority. And I must say to you that when you have to make a choice, you prioritize what's your best interests for expressing yourself. And I will conclude to talk to you about that we had something about the old parties and their story, what they've done. I really believe that in situation they all failed at least one time, so multi-party will be a solution. So for all these reasons, we are very proud to oppose this motion.
Thank you all, cross the floor, shake hands, get out.
Thanks.